Morning guys, and welcome to Leading Edge. Beautiful, cold and cloudy winter morning. As a special request from this customer, he asked me if I could run you guys through the hand wash that we do at Leading Edge and the best way to maintain your car. We have a bucket for the wheels, so this bucket does not mix with anything else. It is purely for the wheels only. Now comes the two bucket wash method part, where we have one bucket which has your soapy water and the high quality wash mitt. In this example, it's the Mint Lambswool Premium Wash Mitt, and you also have plain clean water. Okay, so the first step before you do anything else, before you even wet the car, is to start on the wheels. So what we have here is the Concourse Breakdown Wheel Cleaner, which I highly recommend, and I do buy it in 5 liters. It's a fantastic cleaner. Now what you do is you simply spray it on the wheels. Try not to do this after the car has been driven while the brakes are still hot. You don't want it to dry on the car, or on the discs, shall I say. And then you wait for this to react with the brake dust, and it will start turning a red-purple color. The wheel cleaner is now beginning to turn a purple-red color, which means that it is beginning to react with the iron and the brake dust. So we'll just give it a few more minutes, if not seconds, and then what we're going to do is we're going to use our pressure wash to blast it off. Let's have a look at how well this wheel cleaner works. One of the things that you also don't want to forget about is the wheel arch. It does pick up some leaf, so while you do have the pressure washer in your hands, just give it a good blast inside to make sure you blast off anything that's loose in there. Now the fun part starts of actually washing the wheel. So all of this has been just prepped to knock off any loose dirt or brake dust, but you still have to wash the wheel if you want the perfect result. So our first step is a tire brush. So we clean the tire and also the edge of the rim very gently. The tire does pick up dirt. This is a fairly new car, but you do get cars that have very dirty tires, so necessary step. After that, we grab our wheel woolly that is only for the wheel arches and gently squeeze it into the wheel arch and clean any mud on the wheel arch with our lug nut brush. So what we want to do here is we want to clean the wheel nuts. Now with this particular car, we are going to take the wheels off and give it a very good clean anyway, but as part of any standard wash, what we want to do is with this brush, clean the wheel nuts first of all. Then after this, you should clean the caliper, because you don't want to have a very clean wheel with a dirty caliper. That's very noticeable by the customers, and I'm sure if you have OCD like we do, it will bug you. Then you could also use the wheel brush or the lug nut brush to reach places that, especially on very spokey wheels, that you can't easily get to with the wash mitt, which we will get to in a minute. Your wheel woolly, which comes in a variety of sizes, and you clean the inside of the rim. So you will generally find that once you get to the caliper, it's a bit of a tight fit and you need to change the size of the wheel woolly, which is fine, but start from the top of the wheel. Let the product flow down and drag the dirt with it. So we get our smaller brush to get right behind the caliper. You want to grab your wheel washing mitt and clean the face of the wheel really well, and also behind the spokes. So try to reach as much as you can. Before you move on to the next wheel, give it a good rinse. And that's how we wash the wheels at leading edge. So every wash we do, including the mini detail, which is our entry-level detail, you can expect a wheel wash of this level. So once the wheels have been washed, it's time to start on the paint of the car. Now, this is an optional step which I highly recommend for people who have had their cars freshly detailed or paint protected. It's called the snow foam pre-wash. Now, depending on the product, you can use the same concentrate for the snow foam as the actual wash. In this case you can. We're using the Concourse Snow Plus, which is a fantastic product, but again, follow the instructions on the packet, and the product itself must be pH neutral. So don't opt for a cheaper option, always pick the best that you can afford, and generally speaking they are not expensive at all. So the purpose of the snow foam pre-wash is to knock off as much of the dirt that is on the car as possible before you actually touch it with your mitt. That further reduces any chance of scratching and swirl marking. Very easy. Walk around the car, give it a really good foaming. I normally use the whole bottle of the foam on the car because I don't want to reuse or have products that are lying around in my van that are going to leak everywhere. But if you feel like you want to save it for another day, I don't see why not. But once you have let the product sit for a couple of minutes, definitely don't let it dry on the car. We are washing outside today, but it is only just after sunrise and the weather is well below 5 degrees Celsius, so there isn't really a chance of it drying. You want to knock off all the product with your hose or pressure washer. So again, top down. Early time for the wash. So again, this is the 2-bucket hand wash. This is the best method to avoid swirl marks and scratches and ensure that your car remains looking pristine. So the method is fairly simple, and the purpose behind it is fairly simple once it's explained properly. You have your wash mitt and the soapy water. So what you want to do is every time you make a pass with the wash mitt, you want to wash your mitt into the clean water, get all the dirt off, and then go back to the soapy water before the car. The dirt will always be trapped into bucket number 2, which is your rinse bucket, before you go back to your wash bucket, and that way you don't take the dirt back onto the car, which is what causes the scratching. You begin into the soapy water, bucket number 1, very gently and in straight lines. Wash a small section of the car at a time. Once you have that done, rinse your mitt out. Back into the soapy water and continue. The method is always top down, so you want to start from the cleanest part of the car and move down to the dirtiest. So my normal method is roof, windows, bonnet, top of the boot lid. Then you'll begin with the guard, door, finally the front bumper, rear of the boot, and rear bumper. That is normally the dirtiest part. Once we have washed the car, now because this car is getting paint correction and paint protection, we want to make sure that the paint is in perfect condition. One of the things we noticed when we were washing it is that the paint has contamination. Now this isn't dirt, there is no dirt. It's actually particles from the environment that have adhered to the paint. Now what that means is we have to remove these particles, and we do that using clay. This is the contamination that we pulled off, and if you could hear this, you could hear that this is smooth, this is rough. So rough, smooth. That's what clay does, is it removes the contamination from the paint. Now that the car has been clayed, washed and rinsed, it's time to dry it. I guess one of the main reasons why hand car washes and dealerships do tend to scratch the car, and even people at home, is that they don't realize they could scratch a car after it's been washed. We dry the cars that we're using two methods. So the first method, which we recommend for everybody at home, and depending on the environment we actually use it as well, is microfiber. Do not use a chamois. The microfiber has fibers that trap the dirt if you have left any dirt on the car, while the chamois will simply drag the dirt onto the car and then cause the scratching. So this is the easiest and cheapest method of drying the car, especially if your car hasn't been paint protected and the water doesn't really bead off well. So you grab your microfiber, you tear off any tags that are on that, because the tag does scratch the car. Then you fold the microfiber into four, and you will see that as the microfiber gets wetter, it will dry better. So initially, once the microfiber is dry, you're not going to get very good results, but as you go around the car, it will get better and better. So again, straight lines. Normally we dry from the top down, but for the purpose of the video, I want you guys to see a panel. So very gently, straight lines. And you dry the car off safely, gently, and with minimal risk of scratching. The second method that we dry the cars off with is using the Metrovac 8 horsepower blaster. Now, depending on your budget and when it's practical, this is not for everybody. It's not the cheapest tool in the van. It's actually one of the more expensive machines, but because you're using air, it dries the car off quickly and with minimal risk to the paint. When you're not touching the paint, you cannot scratch it. So let's check it out onto the bonnet. Now that the car has been washed, clayed and dried, normally it would be ready for either a wax, paint sealant, or if it has paint protection, nothing. However, because we're going to do paint correction and protection on this car, we're going to leave it as it is, put it in the garage and go for an inspection. In saying that, and before we even put it in the garage, I would like to see if I could capture a few things on camera. First of all, I'm not sure if you could see the buffer haze on the front bumper. It's a little bit hard to see. Hopefully it captures it on as a reflection on the sun. Now this is dealer installed, so the Holden dealer that this car was purchased from must have gone over it with a very aggressive rotary machine. You could see where they have sort of gone through the paint here. And also on the rear door, let's see if we could capture this. There on the crease of the door, the machine has dug into the paint more than it needs to. So hopefully this hasn't gone too far and we could repair it, but you could definitely see that there is damage from the dealership of when they initially prepared this car pre-delivery. Another reason why you shouldn't get the dealer to do a pre-delivery detail, because they end up doing more harm than good in most cases. Let's put it in the garage and see what we find.